I'm going to start my video here, and I know it's a little shadowy. You see this plastic? You see how far out these terminals are, especially the positive? We just had an incident. We had to use Slipper's old battery. Um, Here's a scoop. Anything Silverado, I'm the guy that figures it out. Now, this is your power brake booster grommet. We're going to start out with this first. It's torn. I tried patching it up. It created a vacuum leak that this thing would start before it would backfire until it sucked in enough air to build up vacuum to start the engine, but it still wasn't idling and it still wasn't running right because of this split grommet. I just called Blaze Alexander here, Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Talked to Troy. Blaze Alexander. So, in case anybody wants to call me full of the poopy stuff, look, $52. Oh, it comes with the check valve. I got drawers full of that stuff. It's these grommets. If you get in you pull it yards, start pulling some of these parts off, because if they're going to start pulling this stuff, $52. Now, I just found it on another website, says it's a genuine GM part, but what's it made out of? Because these are actually a rubber. The one that I just put in, they're an actual rubber, not a plastic. The plastic will leak. What happens is the heat in the summers, not necessarily the winter, but by the springtime, you're going to have another vacuum leak. Because we just went through it with another truck. My friend was pulling his hair out. They charged him $800 and some odd dollars for a cam and a crank sensor, and it still didn't fit. He got the truck back. He was furious. And I told him, check that brake booster grommet. Well, he has the truck about 4 years, and that brake booster grommet, Lord and behold, like this plastic one that I have in my pocket, it broke down. Now, these batteries are another subject, okay? This is where I'm going to lead into cops. How cops are like, are cops like rabbis? You bet your ass a cop is like a rabbi. This plastic around here, when you come to these bolts, I just trimmed the insulation because I'm finding a lot of trucks lately. I just had another guy here. He had another anomaly under the hood. It was just that was a coil pack, and he didn't know how to test the coil pack, and he didn't have one, and he didn't want to buy one unless he needed one, which I didn't blame him. Well, I got tons of that stuff. So he came here and I fixed that. These bolts are only so long, and what you're going to do is like Slippers did with this battery for his truck. He was fighting that insulation instead of peeling it all off like I just did on mine down there. Okay, he was fighting it and stripped it out. And also, if you cock this bolt putting it in, okay, because these battery cables are tight in these trucks. They don't leave you much forgiveness. Forget about putting another end on one of these battery cables, because you're going to have a problem. Just saying. But anyway, this battery is shot because he hasn't stripped out. I might put a bolt in there, but we'll get him another battery. He's got more problems than he can figure out with that truck. He's leading himself into a deep hole. But as I said, I buy parts as I can afford them, when I can afford them, which is not lately since this shitstorm has hit. And that leads me into how cops are like rabbis. You know, the rabbi was molesting those kids. We don't know how it happened. It just started 20 years ago. It's like a bad cop. 20 fucking years this shit's been going on, okay? Just like that Muppet that did what he did from Afghanistan and that stuff. They know who these people are. They've been sent here. They've been destroying this country systematically, a corrupt legal system, just like Tim Walz is not in jail right now. I want to tell you something. If I was President Trump, I would have personally come there to slam him into a prison cell. You know, they put people in jail for owing bills and different things, but these cocksuckers can go out and steal $1 billion and commit all this fraud all across this country. If Walz is doing it, this is a whole inner network that they're onto, okay? And then Trump wants to play with these snakes. They're all out walking around free. But the normal guy that has a problem ends up in prison. He doesn't get to work that problem out or get any forgiveness. Nobody. I mean, how is this shit happening to this country? But they are destroying it, and they're back to censorship. I'm hoping I'm just hoping. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna cough in my video when I say this. I don't want to be flagged by YouTube. especially if you're a Jew and you call another Jew a bad Jew, like I got half of that on my family. That's not a racism. It's not even a skepticism. It's a matter of a fact. Okay? You go into one of these high rises or public or HUD or whatever, they want to find out everything you have and shake you out and leave you a couple dollars left over to live on. Same way with assisted living. They rob and they loot families, and your relative goes in the grave even faster. The shit's got to stop, and it's these Muppets. You know, my mother's got to live in a high rise. Well, I mean, she put herself in the position she's in where the heat and the AC barely work, if and when they work, because they're shot. They need new control modules. One elevator, they're down to one elevator in the building, and the building's got all kinds of problems, and now they're talking about a renovation. I got news for you. If I got problems, or I got to pay $52 for a goddamn little grommet for this truck, they're going to have a lot of problems right now. And this is something that's been building, and it's been building in this country. And that's why I ask people to share, like my videos. Okay, I'm not one of those guys asking you for anything. I give my advice free, and I don't want anything from you. God, I was just going to thank, and I had him here. I have a nice pair of gloves the gentleman sent me from Alabama. That's why nobody plans a vacation to Georgia or Alabama. That's one way to end up in a jail cell real quick. Just be from out of town and bump into one of those meatheads with a badge. Holy cow. I've been to Alabama. I like the shoreline in Alabama. I like the coast in Georgia. But you go in those inner cities, especially you go near Atlanta, you're either going to end up dead or in a jail cell. I'm telling you. I just had a friend that went down there on business, and he parked where he shouldn't have parked. Well, he's from out of town. Cop didn't want to hear it, wrote him a ticket. They took him right in front of a judge and shook him down for, what was that, a $72 or $80 or something? I mean, he had the money, don't get me wrong, he paid it. But he was like, the cop's like, are you seriously going to put me in jail for a ticket for a parking violation? And I think it was because he was out of town. Now, I don't know whether that's common practice in Georgia, but I'm actually going to try to make some phone calls and find out. Look, like and share my videos. I give my knowledge free. This truck, like I said, I'm very attached to this vehicle. My son is too. My son's, that's when my son started driving, because he says, Dad, I want one like that. I said, Kyle, I says, they're not taken care of. That's my son's name, my one son. I said, most of these trucks, I said, they've got a lot of problems. He says, well, I'm going to try to find something. He says, Dad, I will. I'm going to look for something. And I said, well, okay. I'm glad. But these are one of the nicest running vehicles. This 01 from the night. I don't like the 3-door. I have a 3-door. But these 4-doors after 2000 to 2002, all the way up to 2010. I would say the cutoff year is like 2010, 2011, before they went to that AFM and monkey business, okay? But anyway, the 01 to 2, like I said, 99, but they're basically all the same truck, and a lot of the parts are interchangeable. You're not going to have a hard time until now. I never had a hard time getting these trucks. Everything I bought for these trucks over the years, and my customers, I got mainly off the shelf or on eBay. I hate to admit that. Thank you for watching my videos. I'll have another one. It's going to be a real willy-dilly.